Hello everybody and welcome to an audio commentary for Chronicles of the Chroniclers 3, The Lost World, Episode 1, The Rise. I'm Sam Schemberger. I wrote the script, I shot the thing, and voiced several of the voices in this film. And let's get right into all this commentary stuff. Commentaries are another one of my favorite special features on like DVDs and stuff. I love listening to how the directors or the actors explain all the stuff they did and why they did it and why they thought it was so funny. So I thought it would be fun to try it out myself. So here goes nothing. Alright, so starting off with the prologue sequence. This is the same basic prologue that has been in all 3 seasons of the show. And it starts off with just the drawing of stuff. I mean, the drawings in the third one didn't have as much detail put into them. They were kind of thrown together at the last second. But it uses the original Bionicle Matoran language. And then all the same font that was used to translate it into English. And then here we go, starting off with the first new voice of the series, because, you know, in the first 2 seasons I performed all the voiceovers, but for this third one I decided it would just be right to get some other people to do voices too. So this is my friend Shannon Aspreth, who does the voice of Holly. And it makes sense for Holly to be reading this too, because she is the chronicler. In the first 2 seasons it was just a narrator who was unnamed. Kind of implications that it might have been Takua, except that he had an accent, and Takua in the rest of the film does not have an accent. So, I mean, it really is making more sense for Holly to do the voiceover narrations, because she is the chronicler, so she knows the story and she's telling the story.
Heroes came from our own midst and challenged Makuta. Together, they were able to overcome his power and free us.
Shannon had a hard time pronouncing a lot of the Bionicle terms, and so did Frank, Carl, and Lauren, who also do voices in this film. I had to coach them all around, where they would get to a point in the sentence and they would just freeze, and I would pronounce it for them, and then they would resume the sentence. You can kind of tell a little bit in the prologue when Shannon had to hesitate. I did my best to edit it out as much as I could, but she got the hang of it as time went on.
Were in danger of annihilation, unaware that they were living in a doomed land.
That line too, that they were living in a doomed land. She messed that one up in the first recording, because she said they were living in a door land. We're not entirely sure why she said that. The title, The Lost World, doesn't necessarily refer to a world that is lost and then is found. That's usually what the title would mean. I mean, The Lost World was the title of a Sir Arthur Conan Doyle book. I don't know what that book was about, I haven't read it. And then Lost World was also the title of the second Jurassic Park book by Michael Crichton, and also the second Jurassic Park movie. The book and movie for Jurassic Park meant the world was lost and then found again. But the context of the Lost World in this season is that if they don't act and if they don't save the world, then the world will be lost. So it's a little bit of a different context. Akmu, I do the voice of Akmu, but originally I was going to have Carl do Akmu's voice, but then I decided I would do it just to speed the first episode along, because so many fans were anticipating it, and I did get the release date wrong in 2 of the trailers, so just kind of just as a kind of, I'm sorry, a way of saying I'm sorry I released the first episode early. So it was actually released before any of Carl's voices were recorded, so that's why I do Akmu's voice.
What manga indeed, Hookie. Yeah, come on, let's leave him to his assorted miseries.
Huki and Mitoro's voices are both different in this film. Well, obviously Holly's is too, but Huki has more of a New York accent in this film, and Mitoro has a completely different voice. In the first, Mitoro was first introduced in the season 2, and this was basically his voice.
It is a threat.
And the third one, I decided to change his voice because I didn't like the first voice that he had in the first one. So this was the voice he has.
I realized the potential threat to our safety.
You might notice that in
the Masks of Power.
Fallen Order and in Masks of Power, Takua's eyes were blue, but they're green in this one.
They have supernatural and
that was on purpose because when I constructed the Takua model for this film, it was basically just a Toa like Han model. I did change his eyes to blue so it would correspond with the original Takua models, but I didn't think the blue looked that good with the gold and red colors, so he just the Taraga model has his eyes changed to green instead.
And while the Masks of Shadow still exists, so does Makuta.
And also, this is the only season out of all 3 in which the opening episode does not have or does not begin with a shot of the Mask of Shadows.
For a week now, we've uncovered very little of their secrets or anything that is
and
at all
that
useful to us.
Remember how the Taraga said that area was going to use
what's that mask called? The mask like Holly wears, the statue behind Takua. That was taken down for the because it was in the first season, and then it was taken down for the second season and rebuilt into the bed that Vakama dies in. And for this film, I rebuilt it. It's not exactly the same though, and I had to build the pedestal a bit differently.
The magic's too strong.
And that's
my thoughts then turned to destroying the other
contraption
masks,
beside Takua that Nuparu is sitting on
strong. Even without the
was
black magic, we can't do it.
It was supposed to be like an arm. I tried to make like some sort of mutant thing. It wasn't for the it wasn't for any of the Chronicles of the Chronicler films. It was an old thing that I did years ago, and I only built an arm, and I never was able to construct a body that looked
I will
good.
take it upon myself to fulfill this task.
Good.
I found it when I was looking for new pieces to use, and I decided to throw it in there just as some sort of contraption. I think it was in was it in Mask of Power too? I don't remember.
Or at least not yet. There's no immediate threat. No need to worry the entire island if there's only a small chance it will happen.
This shot of the moon right here was actually this was actually shot during production for Sam's Comics, and it was going to be in that movie, but then the right scene wasn't set, so it didn't end up in the film.
I'm only looking at one star in particular tonight.
And that telescope is meant to look like the one at the beginning of Mananui Online Game 1. When you play as Takua, you climb up to the top of the cliff on the Takoro beach, and there's a telescope up on top. You look through that, and you can look through the stars. And this is actually a screenshot from Mananui Online Game of the red star.
Highly irregular, sure enough, but it comes into view about once every 5 years or so.
There were when I recorded the voices, I did 2 takes of Takua's voice and 2 takes of Jaller's voice, and they're all kind of used on. Both of them are used on and off throughout the film, or throughout the season. I mean, Takua's voiceovers are primarily the second take because the first one didn't have a whole lot of emotion in his voice. Jaller's though is primarily the first one because the second one I didn't end up liking as much.
Our planet would have been consumed by it.
And this is just all the planet shots and stuff are just things I found on YouTube.
That was a lifetime ago. Why is the red star still there?
I think that maybe was from the second Jaller take because the voice was slightly different.
It's a shame.
It's hard to explain how it's different though. It's I don't even know. This model here, the Takaro guard, is meant to look like Nuri, who is the Takaro guard who guards the main or maybe it's not the main entrance, but one of the entrances to Takaro in Matanui Online Game 2. He has the black mask like Holly has and red body. So he has an appearance in this film and gets killed right away. I think all except for Tahuti and what was her name, Vizola. There were 6 Matoran who were involved in the 2004 storyline, the Metro Nui storyline, and Akmu is one of them, and Eerie from the first season is one of them. Orcam is in this movie too, and he's in it, the 2004 storyline, and so is Nuri. But Tahuti and Vizola don't appear in the series at all. Although I do use Vizola's mask for Altair.
What was that?
This sequence went on a little bit longer in the script, where they actually show Jowler and another guard capturing Akmu, but failing to do anything against Makuta. But it was too difficult to film, and the final product looked really bad, so it was not included in the film. So yeah, ignore the Pepsi can back there. If there's one thing that I'm notoriously bad at, it's checking to make sure that there's not anything in the back of the shot that shouldn't be there. I mean, I try to focus on making sure all the main characters are on screen and doing the proper things on screen, making sure the movements look good, and then sometimes I just kind of neglect to make sure there's nothing in the back of the shot. So occasionally you'll see a Pepsi can or stuff like that. Makuta was the hardest model to deal with in this film because he was incredibly top heavy, and he would fall over if I tried to move him too much. So that's the main reason you don't see Makuta much in the series. Actually, you only see him in the first and last episodes. There was something else I wanted to say here, but that'll wrap it up for the first episode commentary. Thank you for watching, and I will get to doing a commentary for episode 2 here within a few minutes. So, thanks again.